Oh god, thank you Jesus, this one's actually good. Why was it so hard to get here? Why was Legacy Wave 1 and 2 good as far as QC was concerned, only for just about every figure in Wave 3 to be cursed with some of the worst quality control we have ever seen in the fandom? I say just about because finally, for once, we have a good Wave 3 figure that isn't sabotaged by its own build like the Starscream we covered last time was. Thank you, just Christ. It shouldn't have been this biblically hard to get a figure out of this wave that doesn't fall to pieces on its own. I can't find the Megatron, so I don't know how he will fare when I finally manage that, but reports seem to be that it's good. And this is great! And that brings the Beast Wars fan in me so much joy. Because if only one figure in this wave could be good on the QC, I'd choose Megatron's loyal Space Marine of a Fire Ant. For the Empress of Khan! It's Legacy Inferno. And also Beast Wars Inferno. Huge thanks to Mentally Doomed on Discord for gifting me with an original Beast Wars Inferno, after going through a huge ordeal to send it to me. They even sent me an original Beast Wars Air Razor and some 3D printed guns for Inferno as a surprise bonus. Just an absolute legend, and I can't thank you enough. I wish it wasn't such a pain for you to get these sent out to me, and all I can hope is that this video makes up for some of that. I am eternally grateful. The Legacy figure is both weirdly accurate and not, kind of sitting in this uncanny valley where his head, biceps, and legs are super accurate, but his torso and hands aren't. The overall vibe that it gives him is one of extreme show accuracy that still manages to be a little strange. I also feel like his legs are a bit too long, but he's so bogged down in kibble that it's hard to notice. Honestly, if this guy has a weakness, it's the insane degree of kibble he suffers from. Most bug formers have the problem with the insect legs where they just hang off and clash into everything, but Inferno's legs here are exceptionally large and jagged, having a lot of surface area with which to get hung up on stuff, so he's prodigiously guilty of that. And he's got the giant butt flower, which is accurate and I'd throw a fit if he didn't have, but at the same time, it's not helping in this regard. Meanwhile, you have the original Beast Wars figure from Mentally Doomed, and I gotta say, this is right there with the other Beast Wars figures in terms of accuracy, which is to say, reasonably close for an old toy. It's got a ton less bug kibble though. What's there still gets in the way a bit more than I wish, but this has a far cleaner silhouette than the new guy. Gotta say that the clear plastic was a weird choice. I get the feeling that not a lot of these Infernos lasted into the modern era because of this material selection. It's got some cool factor with the way the, I don't know what to call this, tail section. I know this is an abdomen on an ant, but he's in robot mode, so he has a regular abdomen, and this is like a tail. Anyways, the way the clear plastic works together with the tail and the silver paint so you can see the mechanical detail inside is pretty cool. But I'd have traded the clear plastic on just about any other part of this for some regular opaque polymer in order to not have all the issues this is causing. Like the knees on this are a no-joke weak mess, and the hips aren't much better. But I did manage to thicken them up just enough to make it so that way he can stand for the video. They also seem to have taken all of the paint budget and put it into his tail, which they might have been using the clear plastic to try and offset, and fair, but it does leave him looking a little dull in the body, with his colors only mildly broken up by the integrated bug legs. Contrast that with the Legacy figure, who seems to get a ton more. Like the only part of his body that doesn't have color breakup is the forearms. Everything else either is handled by paint or a switch to the type of plastic. So the Legacy figure does manage to stand out. His tail is worse though. It's far less uniform in scale, the shape each petal has is wrong, it's overall smaller, and it only uses the metallic light blue of his face to slather the whole thing back here, while the original figure used a few different varieties. Plus, he doesn't have the green butt stripe, and what even is Inferno without that? Also, the Legacy figure is missing the jet engine in his ass, but that's kind of remedied by stuff to come later. Now for the heads, both are interesting. The original Beast Wars one is a bit further off than most of the other older figures, when compared to its show design, while still having a lot of details be correct. To be fair, most of the other guys were some variety of normal dude, so being far more distinct like this makes it a bit easier to spot differences. But he's got his mandibles and his forehead spikes, plus the absolutely charming toothy grin that he's known for. Look at that cute smile. But at the same time, his mouth is overall smaller, like this guy almost seems to have a normal-sized mouth. Disgusting. Then you got the Legacy guy, and honestly, it's not even fair. Like, this is trying so hard to be the show head, while the show head was not trying to be the original Toys head. But I can't help it, it's just facts. This is the spitting image of the character in a way that so very few figures in the history of the Transformers get. Even some of the Masterpiece Beast Wars figures don't have heads that look this good. And they even went to the trouble of giving this guy the opening mouth so he can proclaim his love of the royalty, and vow to burn his enemies like all good members of the Salamander should. Though he seems to have gotten the uniforms a bit mixed up. Where's the green, and why are you dressed like a blood raven? Also light piping. Normally I'd hate on this, and I'm going to, right now. God, this is a useless rendition of this garbage. His eyes look dead in the shade and exactly as dead in the light. Because, say it with me, this only works when you shove his head up a light bulb's ass. And then just, holy crap! Why does this look so sick? This is easily the coolest, strongest light piping I have ever seen. He looks so menacing. I mean, it sucks that you have to jam the back of his head into a flashlight to get this to work, and it kind of hurts to look at this, but damn, that is better than I expected. Still should have been chromed eyes, though. So in robot mode, the Legacy figure looks amazing. So much like itself, so good, with a perfect head. And the original figure looks pretty good, with some really cool points, but some questionable material usage, and because of that and the head, it's not holding up as accurate to the character as many of the other original Beast Wars figures do. It's not doing badly, but it's clear that the show took some liberties. It's a cool design, but it feels more like G1, where the toy was more an inspiration for the character in the show, and not what the show was actually based on. There is only one accessory for the Legacy figure, and it's his ass engine. His Asgen. Based on the clear plastic, I think that they are trying to make this his energon weapon, which is not a thing that totally fell by the wayside even during the first wave, and in no way should they just stop doing these stupid gimmicks that they don't commit to. This is also meant to double as his gun, so it's kind of the worst of all worlds. It's not big enough to look like his Asgen, while also being colored wrong, and he can't have it at the same time as his gun, which this looks nothing like, but at least it's Quadra Blast Effect compatible. Meanwhile, the Asgen of the original figure is just built in like it should be, and it's got a spring-loaded gimmick where it spins. But it doesn't work great, and I'm really worried about breaking it. It doesn't feel like it can take much abuse. He's also got a small, lame, cheapy gun, and some pincers that peg into the backs of his hands, which is a remarkably stupid way to handle that. But they also combine into what I guess is a decapitated xenomorph's head, so it's got the play factor. And I may be cheating this a bit, but the one I got from Mentally Doomed also comes with these awesome 3D printed versions of the cannons that he had in the show for the most accurate accessory either of these guys have. And it too even is Blast Effect compatible. But the way it pegs in is still a pain. So, the clear winner on this front is absolutely the original figure. As for posing, we are going back to the modern slaughter though. Legacy head has more up and down than normal, as well as more side to side, plus the opening mouth. Original has an extreme tilt up like little else and a little bit of side to side. Legacy arms pull like a 95 and have forwards butterfly. OG pulls like a 50 but no butterfly. Maximum elbows. 110-degree elbows, rotating wrist and a separate cuff piece. No wrist. Both have waists, though the OG is a little more limited. Legacy has legs that are unimpeded in all directions unless you count impediments as having to move a heap of kibble out of your way. The original is about the same, but only pulls a 45 out to the side, without the kibble interference. Maximum knees. Normal 90s, massive toe down, heel down, and pivot, equal toe down, nothing else. So, the Beast Wars figure keeps to the tune of more than you expect from a figure that old, but it's not holding up as well as some of the other figures from the original Beast era. Meanwhile, the Legacy figure is kicking ass in taking names in the posability. Outside of the mouth, he doesn't have a lot of specialty joints, but he has the most refreshing amount of range in just about everything. He may not have a ton of frills, but he does what you want with ease and grace. Now for the transformations. The Legacy figure isn't really good at this. It's not a terrible conversion, but there's a squishiness to it that robs any step of a satisfying click at the end. And it's just weird enough that I had to look at the directions to figure out how his arms fold into his torso, cause I would never guess that they'd go in fist first. Kind of assumed that they'd wind up going into that defensive boxing posture that most figures do, so I was confused as to why it wasn't coming together. I also hate the faux forming bug legs across his shins. Not only is faux forming stupid, but making these the real thing would have cut down on the kibble, which is this figure's Achilles heel. The original toy did this right, so why not this? Now, confession time. Beast Wars Inferno is the only Beast Wars figure I never owned growing up. I had amazing parents, and they knew that for me, Beast Wars was everything. So every time a birthday or Christmas rolled around, my brothers would get a whole variety of stuff, and I'd just get Beast Wars. And that was it. And I was a happy camper for that. However, one time for my birthday, they got me Inferno, who at the time had just shown up in the show and was my new favorite. He was my sun and my moon. And you may be like, but Perspective, you just said you never had one. I know, I'm getting to that. Anyways, I take him out of the box and I play with him and I'm really enjoying it, but then I go to transform it, and he comes in AND mode, and no one in my family could figure out how to transform him. Like, we were looking at the instructions and his mandibles were supposed to come out, and we just could not figure out how to make that happen. We were like pushing down on it, thinking that the entire bottom of his head was supposed to drop out, we were pulling out the screws, nothing we were doing could get these out so the head could flip down. And the bug head just would not come down with those still in. So my family just assumed that it was a defective copy and returned it, never to see another one in stores ever again. The figure came out at the start of the whole toy line, and we never, ever saw a second one. Distribution has been bad for 30 years, it seems. Anyways, as soon as we took it back to Toys R Us, I got the idea in my head that the mandibles probably just came straight out the front, which they do. So I spent decades of my life cursing my bad decision to return it prematurely because it was just a problem that I could have fixed if I was just smart enough to do so before returning it, and then I received this. Only to discover that this thing didn't need to have the mandibles come out to transform. It works just fine leaving it in. So I've been kicking my own ass for nothing all this time. Mine really was just defective. I don't know whether I should be disappointed or relieved. I guess that would be my first truly awful experience with QC. Huh. My original Beast Wars Inferno was like a Legacy Wave 3 figure, while my Legacy Wave 3 Inferno is like a figure from literally any other line than Wave 3. That's interesting. Anyways, it's a ridiculously easy transformation with a very small amount of automorphing, and the end results are remarkably different. The Legacy figure is honestly cute as a button, and I'm sorry for reminding you of Auntie from Home Alone in the top 10 of the year video. I promise not to do it this time. It's got a small amount of posing, but not a lot. Really forward and backward movement on one set of legs, and some waist and head arching, plus the posable mandibles. It's fine, it looks good with the other beast formers, I do kind of enjoy it, unlike some of the other ones from Kingdom. It's an acceptable mode, but I wish it was more accurate. Speaking of accurate, Damn! The show didn't base the robot mode on the toy very much at all, really only getting the tail section down, but they flat copied the beast mode to the screen. This is basically exactly correct. If you only showed me pictures of this and told me it was a masterpiece version, I'd believe you. And this one ain't cute. The Legacy figure looks like if a gerbil was an arthropod. This just looks like it wants to rip your toes off and drag them into the deepest, darkest hole he can find. Plus, this has way more posability, as all the bug limbs have exactly as much range as they ever did when they were arms and legs. But 4 of them have an extra joint now, and he's got 2 new legs that are just about as useful as any from the Legacy figure. Plus, he's got the posable mandibles as well, though they're slightly less controllable. I just wish the abdomen held in place a bit better. Both of these are good modes, but the OG one is excellent, and I take it any day of the week over the new figure's alt mode. But I take the new figure's robot mode over the original ones. All in all, I'd have to say that this is a pretty balanced comparison, though actually weirdly weighted in the 30-year-old figure's favor. The new figure looks better in robot mode and is more accurate with far better posing, as well as not having any significant QC issues. But the original has way less kibble, way better accessories and gimmicks, a better transformation, and a far more accurate bug mode that poses a lot better and is more fun. Like, of the 5 categories, the new figure has the robot mode and posing, while the Beast Wars one has accessories, alt, and the transformation. I'll say that the new one definitely still satisfies more, but I love the fact that the old one is putting up one hell of a fight. He is not going down easy. So thanks again to Mentally Doomed for this, and I got too hung up comparing the two. To be clear, buy the Legacy figure. It's a micro masterpiece. And that's not half we have to say, but it's enough we have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.